Say hi.
Hi. Where
Hi.
are you? Where are you, Chris?
Or
There you are.
I'll be 4 today. We're waiting on Jackie.
Yeah, which may or may we don't know yet, but anyways.
How's
Yeah, I
everyone
just
doing
drove
tonight?
like a bat out of hell across town for her
We're
in
good. We're
rush hour
good.
traffic.
All right, you want to do the intro, or you want me to just roll right into it, Chris?
Well, I think we're going to wait just a few minutes to see if Jackie
Okay.
comes by. So you probably have something you
Okay.
want to talk about.
Yeah. So hi everyone. Welcome to another live Q&A. As usual, I got my faithful Blake, veteran, retired doctor, here to try and answer some of the medical questions and veteran questions. Got my hubby Chris behind the scenes, navigating the questions. And normally we have Jackie. We'll see. She is in Germany, guys. So it's really hard. That's why we're trying to do it at 6 o'clock Eastern so that she can join, because it's actually midnight there. Hopefully she didn't fall asleep on us, but she may have. But if we can't answer the questions, we will always ask you guys to email us, and we'll pop it up throughout the show tonight, our email address and all the links that need to be said. One thing I want to talk about right in the beginning before we kind of get into the questions, because I see a bunch of people are dropping some questions. Do be sure to drop your questions. We will try to help you the best we can. If we can't, we will always have you email, or if it's going to take up too much time of the Q&A, we'll have you do that as well. One way to support us, guys, is you can always donate to support the channel. It goes directly to support all the equipment that goes into creating the videos and to doing the live Q&As for you guys as well. One thing I want to talk about is COLA. COLA increase came out for upcoming year of 2025. Now, I know a lot of you are not happy with it, but it is at 2.5%. COLA is based on the CPI -W. And but some of you guys just kind of see the number and you're like, oh my God, 2.5%, that kind of sucks, right? Because of the economy. Well, the CPI, it's actually increases the consumer price index with the urban wages. So it's not an accumulation. It's based on the W, which is the wage earned. Now, keep this in mind, guys. I'm looking at the Social Security website. That is where we fall off of. Anybody that receives SSA, disability, retirement pay, they get their COLA increase through Social Security. We are not always what's the word, mandatory to get it. It has to pass through legislation. It always does. They're trying to pass the law to where it will just be continuous for us every year. But if you look at these trends, guys, I'm just going to give this to you, okay? Think about this. Since 2021, we had a 5.9% increase. And then in 2022, we had 8.7. Last year, we had a 3.2. And then this year, we're having a 2.5. So if you just quickly add up those numbers, guys, that is basically about almost 17, 18% in the last 4 years. So think about this. You will never lose that increase, okay? Now, the history of Social Security, there have been times where we have gotten zero. So I look at it as a positive. At least
Most
we're
of the
getting
90s.
right. Most of the 90s, you're looking at the early 2000s. There was a couple zeros in 09 and 10. Okay. At least we're getting something. But if you take that accumulation over the last 4 years, that's a significant increase in our VA compensation. So I'm grateful for it. I know a lot of veterans are grateful. I know a lot are struggling, but just keep that in mind that we are getting a 2.5% increase this year. It will take effect January 1st for December's payment. Remember, we're paid in the arrears. So on January 1st, you will see that increase, not December 1st. Don't get that confused, because December 1st pays for November. All right. Anybody else want to add anything to that? I know, no. Okay. All right. With that being said, we'll roll into the disclaimer, and then we'll get started. What do you guys think? Or do you
Yeah,
want to try and wait,
Sure.
Chris?
no, I just want to point out that Blake looks clean shaven today.
He does. No, what's going on here, man?
It's costume season.
Ah,
Oh.
Can't be Batman or the Joker without
with the beard, right?
I'm gonna tell you, you looked
yeah,
on point for your Batman costume.
it's a, and we didn't take pictures as the Joker and Harley. So
Well, you and Catwoman looked on point. I have to. I was like, I turned to Chris and I'm like, "Is this Blake?" You looked good. You looked good. All right, so everybody be sure to start dropping your questions. I see there are some. We're going to get to them. As long as we have questions, we'll be here. This is here for you guys for the sole purpose to help you guys. So once we have no more questions, we're out because we have other things to do as well. So let's get into the live disclaimer. All right, guys. So VA claims Veterans Helping Veterans is not an accredited agent. We're not a VSO, attorneys, or entity recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs, and we're not affiliated with the VA in any way. We do not assist veterans with the preparation, presentation, and prosecution of VA disability claims for VA benefits. This Q&A is solely for guidance purposes and should not be considered as medical or legal advice. And with that, we'll see if Jackie pops on in the future. We may not see her because she may be asleep, but you know, we're trying this new time frame out too, 6 p.m. Just to see if we're getting some more people. I know 8 o'clock Eastern can tend to be late, but I know some of those people on the Pacific Coast, it's only 5, or no, actually it's what, 3? Yeah, it's 3 o'clock over there.
All right.
All right.
Well, we'll get started. I'm just going to start off with Brian's because he's got a lot of questions. So.
Okay, I thought there was someone before him.
Okay, well, I can put them first, but the next one will be Brian. He's got a couple of questions.
Okay,
So,
let's go with Lolo.
yeah, let me. I got to reset this since Jack here. So give me.
Okay, that's fine. There we go. Hey. All right, first question's from Lolo. Can my wife and I get commissary card without having to go to the naval base, which is 2 hours away? There is no commissary card, so I'm not sure what you're referring to. You can have access to the commissary on base as long as you are at least 10% service connected and have that VIC, which is the Veterans Health Identification Card. If you have that, or if you're 100% PNT and you have your DOD ID card, then you can access the base like anybody else. But keep in mind with the VIC card, some bases will require you to either get a visitor's pass, I think a spouse, a sponsor, right, Blake? A sponsor?
Yep, and you can also use your you can print off a copy of the commissary letter.
Right. You know, it's interesting. Not everybody's getting that. Some people say they don't have that under their benefit letters, but some people do and some people don't. It is required, though, to access the base, especially for the MWR, like I think it's camping, commissary, exchange, things like that. But to answer your question, Lolo, there isn't an actual commissary card that I'm familiar with regarding the base. So again, depending if you're 100% or not would determine whether you have a VIC ID card or a DOD ID card.
Okay, so here we go. Brian's going to be. He's got 4 parts here.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I submitted my first claim for asthma on July 23rd. I was diagnosed with chronic bronchitis in 1996 while serving in the Marine Corps. It was in my medical records for 4 consecutive months where they couldn't treat it, and I was even vomiting mucus all in my records. I even had my family doctor write a nexus letter since chronic bronchitis can medically turn into asthma later in life since it compromises the airways. It also looks like the VA added a new claim to file on October 16, severe chronic bronchitis. Will this update on a new claim added be in my favor? Sorry for the long-winded explanation. Well, Blake, do you want to go back to the medical statement?
Well, it depends. There's a lot here to unpack.
Right.
The question is how much time between the time he was in service and the time and the current time does he have a current chronic diagnosis of chronic bronchitis or a current diagnosis of asthma? I believe both of those fall under the same code, but I'm not sure.
So here's my thing. Bronchitis. So he said he filed for asthma, right?
Right,
Which asthma and bronchitis, they are encompassed. So it
right.
sounds like he filed the claim for asthma because he said he filed it on what, July 23rd, and he was
Eh,
diagnosed with it in service as bronchitis. Now, is bronchitis
Chronic bronchitis can become asthma.
okay?
Like I said, they're in the same um, they're in the same family. They fall under the same code.
Okay.
So I don't think there's any difference in the coding. And they may have changed it to chronic bronchitis because that's what his in-service diagnosis was.
And that's what I think, Brian, because you said that on October 16th, your claim updated to severe chronic bronchitis. Sounds like they're renaming the claim. Nothing to worry about. They're still going to look at it all in all. But I guess my question to you, Blake, on a medical is he says he even had a family doctor write a nexus letter since chronic bronchitis can medically turn into asthma,
Right.
right?
I don't think it matters what he gets rated for as far as severe bronchitis. If he gets if he gets rated for severe chronic bronchitis, he won't need the nexus because
Correct.
that's in his record. If he gets rated for asthma, he will need the nexus. And depending
But
on that
they'll
nexus,
that would be pyramiding, so they would combine them under the respiratory
right.
for asthma and chronic bronchitis. The other thing, Brian, you didn't mention is I'm not sure. Did you? I'm just hoping it gets approved since I have much evidence from my military records and my primary care over the years with asthma, and it seems to be service connected with chronic bronchitis. I'm just curious if he served presumptive area, because if he served in a presumptive, then you don't need the in service.
Right.
And the other thing that happened with the PACT Act, don't forget, is they removed the 10-year stipulation, late 90s, okay, shortly after I got out. So keep in mind, Brian, they did remove the stipulation that you had to file for asthma within 10 years of leaving service under the PACT Act. They now allow you to go back and file for it. So it sounds like you have a solid case with the in-service diagnosis, the current diagnosis linking to service, and the fact that the VA has changed it from asthma to chronic bronchitis. In any event, whether you get rated for asthma or chronic bronchitis, they're still
The
gonna
rating scale is the same.
right, right. And the rating scale for it will depend. I think isn't it on the so many attacks? I think it is. I'm
Right.
not familiar with asthma, like
So
the FE1.
you need to make sure it's well documented. All your attacks are well documented, and you keep an asthma journal.
Yes, yes. All right. Next question. How would you connect IBS and GERD to PTSD? Okay, well, first of all, you need to have the diagnoses for IBS and GERD currently. Secondly, you have to show that your PTSD has caused your IBS and GERD.
And that can be done two ways. That can be done either from the medications you take for your PTSD, could cause either one. The other thing is you would need a nexus letter from probably your psychiatrist or your gastroenterologist stating that and why they believe that it was caused by your PTSD and have the studies to back that up. And there are a few studies out there to show it.
There are. And remember, IBS and GERD are the upper and lower portions of your what do you call it? What's the word I'm thinking of, Blake? GERD is for your upper um, esophagus, and IBS is for more the lower intestines. So they're completely two different things. And again, keep in mind the 38 CFR on May 19th this year changed to where you can be rated separately for GERD and IBS. They are not going to be combined. So you could feasibly file for both and get rated for them separately. And again, you just have to have the evidence to support that your IBS and GERD are caused by your PTSD. And as Blake explained, you need a good doctor's letter. First, you need the diagnosis, and you need your doctor to explain either in your medical records or provide you the nexus indicating how they've been caused by the PTSD, whether it's medication or, like Blake said, from the stress and anxiety of the PTSD. Okay, next question.
So Jerry has listed a bunch of questions.
Okay.
But I think his first one is summing it up. So we'll go with his first question, and then if we need to, we'll dive into it more.
Okay. And remember, everybody, if you're just now joining us, be sure to drop your questions in the comment section so that we can get to them. Okay. So we're just going to go with this one, Chris.
Yeah, so this is kind of the crux. This is his initial question, and he's listing a bunch of stuff after that about this question. So if we need to, if you need more information, I might have it. I just didn't want to list. He's got like eight comments. So we'll start with this, and then if we need to, we can go from there.
All right. So Jerry asked, if your pain level goes from a 10-10, 10 being the worst, to let's say a 9.59 after treatment to chiropractor that your primary care provider gives you, will that reduce your 100% rating? No.
No. And, you know, it also all depends on what all of your ratings are and what they're for. And I'm assuming some of them must be for your back because you're going to the chiropractor. But no, it's not going to. Even if you're controlled on pain meds, even if you get are on pain meds and it gets your pain level down to a 1 or 2, you're not going to be reduced.
And let me say this. This actually came from a very wise person, which I'll remain anonymous. If you're at a 10-10, you better be at the ER. Because if you're at a 10-10, then something's wrong. So you never are at a 10 out of 10. So the fact that you're 100% PNT, and I hear this all day long in the group, I get messaged all day long, I'm scared to lose my rating, I'm PNT, I don't want to lose my ratings. Veterans, please pay close attention to me. Your ratings are only protected under the 5, 10, and 20-year protected rule ratings. That means the longer you have the rating, the better off you are. Again, if you have surgery, if you're getting medical help, you're feeling good one day, you can have those days. Having surgery, right? Don't be afraid to have surgery to try and help. It doesn't mean you're going to lose your rating. Where veterans somehow get proposed reductions is when I see them either get 1, greedy, or 2, they file right after they've been service connected, and then they get proposed a reduction because then there's a review of that rating. Please do not be afraid to get the health treatment that you need for your disabilities, to include chiropractor, acupuncture, surgeries, medications, everything to help you maintain the best of your ability. Because at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want to feel better, but that doesn't mean you're going to be better. It's kind of like PTSD. You're not going to wake up one day and you're going to be cured.
But you're going to have good days and bad days.
So no, Jerry, don't worry about going to the chiropractor and feeling better. There's some days where we all feel better, and then the next day we're like, holy crap, I feel like crap.
And if you haven't talked to your primary about an acupuncturist, I suggest you do so. They do wonders.
Right. Keep going to the chiropractor. And I guess, Chris, is that part of his 8 questions going on about his staying in Cairo?
Yeah, I mean, he's just, like I said, I think he's just having good days and bad days. And he's just, like I said, like a lot of veterans are worried about their rating.
I know.
And, a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people, they have this is when it comes in where they file claims to get increases, and that's when people start looking at their claim and they can get reduced.
Don't get me wrong; it's okay to file for an increase.
Correct. But if you're just 100% P&T and you're just getting treatment, just get treatment. I mean,
right.
That's basically what we're trying to get at here.
And remember, at the end of the day, if you're 100% P&T, that means all your disabilities are static, and the VA does not think you are going to have any improvement to those disabilities. So don't be afraid to get the treatment to try to give you some relief of pain, because at the end of the day, you're going to suffer with the pain and the issues from that disability for the rest of your life, but try to get some kind of relief. So going to the chiropractor, like I said, if you're saying you're a 1010, you better be at the ER because something really bad. Because I remember talking to this person, like I said, I would remain anonymous, and they worked in the medical field for disabilities. And they're like, if you come in and tell me you're a 1010, you better be at the ER. Don't try to fluff that, so to speak, but keep doing it, Jerry. If it works and it helps, I know some medications help, some don't. Do what works for you. Okay. Jeff Connors. Hey, Jeff. Coworker 73 has never used the VA. I convinced him to call the VA and enroll. He said the VA asked him to submit to the VA his total medical costs for last year. Does this make sense? Yes. If he's never registered with the VA for health care, they're going to ask for and he's not service connected, they're going to ask for income, and they're probably going to ask because he's probably drawing Medicare at 73. Right? Blake, you're muted.
Sorry, I was coughing. Yes.
That's okay. So that might be the reason, Jeff, they're asking for his medical costs and expenses, because keep in mind, Medicare is insurance, VA is healthcare. So if he has Medicare, he's absolutely allowed to go to the VA. However, that is healthcare, and his Medicare would kick in as insurance. So they would bill him for things that he goes to the VA for. But yes, the answer is yes. Okay. Camo Jack, I had my first CMP exam today. I was honorably discharged in 1985. In 1995, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and thyroid disease. Do I have a chance at getting 100% rating?
There's not enough information here.
Yeah.
Diabetes and thyroid disease have different stages of ratings, from 0% up to, I think diabetes goes to 100, thyroid goes to 50, I think.
It does.
So, depending on what your A1C is, depending on how the diabetes has affected your life, whether you're insulin dependent, all those things factor into it. You could get a 0% if it's controlled. You could get 100% if it's out of control, and it has caused numerous other things. You're on 4 meds and obese and all that kind of stuff. So, could you get 100%? Yes. Is it likely? No.
Right. Base I was at is listed as a toxic environment, and thyroid disease is listed.
Again, that would be presumptive. Yes, you can get rated. Again, depending on what has happened. If there are a number of different thyroid diseases, and they're treated different ways. If your thyroid was ablated and you've been put back on, or ablated or removed, and they put you on thyroid replacement medications, you will get rated. 0% is a rating.
But keep in mind too, you said that the base you were on is a toxic environment. Remember, under the PACT Act, the VA must consider Altera, which is toxic exposure risk activity. That's not presumptive. Keep that in mind. People get this confused. Veterans get this confused. that is where you still have to prove you were exposed to a toxic exposure, have a current and chronic condition to it. Now, maybe you're mixing it up. If you were at a base that is listed as a presumptive base, then that's a different story. And I think some of the bases do have presumptive, and they do include the thyroid disease. So just keep that in mind, Camo Jack. But whether you would get 100% or not, there's no way for us to tell. You would just simply, I would file, if you haven't filed a claim yet, put an intent to file, also known as an ITF, in place, gather your evidence, and then submit your claims for both the diabetes and, okay, that's fine. The DAV listed it under PACT Act, but what base is it? If you could throw that in the comment section and let me know what base is it, because
and you can look at the CFR under diabetes, and it will give you, it lists out what the criteria for 0%, 10%, 30%, 50%, 70, and 100
right.
are.
So just keep that in mind, Camo Jack. If the DAV listed it as a PACT Act claim, it still includes TARA. Don't forget that. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. TARA still has to be proven that you were exposed to a toxic exposure if you were not in a presumptive area. If you were, then you've got the presumptive. You just need the current and chronic condition. If you're trying to prove the toxic, then that's something else you still have to prove as well. So I hope that helps. Okay, next question. Ziggy Moon. I like that name. 93% VA math, 100% PNT, TDIU. Okay, so you're rounded down to 90. I know to leave it alone at 100% period. However, never thought to add what I believe to be secondary to PTSD, all chronic, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, migraines, concerned about future thoughts. So I'm going to pose this, and then I'm going to let Blake answer about sleep apnea. You're at 90% right now, and you're being paid at 100% because of TDIU. Okay, yeah, sure. A lot of people will tell you, leave it alone. Don't worry about it. Now, here's a couple things. If you're going to die from something and it's not service connected and you haven't been 100% PNT for over 10 years, then I would say file it. Sleep apnea is going to be a tough one. I'm going to let Blake answer that. The other one was migraines, and the other one was
high blood pressure.
High blood pressure. That could pose an issue. So my thought process is, if you warrant service connection for something that should be granted, then you should file it. However, I feel, and I'm going to let Blake jump in here, I feel those that you're filing for aren't anything that you really want to upset the apple cart, other than the high blood pressure.
High blood pressure, I would file. I would not expect to get any rating off of it, because it's a very high mark to get over, to get even to a 10% rating. You'd get a 0% more than likely. However, if you were to die of coronary artery disease or something like that, something cardiac related, it could be claimed to be secondary to high blood pressure or a stroke, those things. So that is something that you want to file for. Your migraines aren't going to kill you. They're not going to get you in, unless you've got a nailed down migraine log. They're going to look into your PTSD. If you're going to, they're going to look at your PTSD rating, which could propose a drop. I'm assuming you're probably 70% for PTSD, which could propose a drop down to 50%, which might drop you out of the TDIU range at that point.
No, it wouldn't. TDIU is 70% and above.
Right, but if he dropped from 70 to 50, it may still put. You don't think he'd put him below 70% overall?
He would go down into like maybe 89 or something, but no.
And the sleep apnea, proving your sleep apnea is secondary to your PTSD is kind of like trying to push a rope up a hill.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard.
Because it's a physical manifestation.
Yep.
So to
Depends.
answer,
It also depends on whether you're diagnosed with obstructive sleep apnea versus central sleep apnea.
right, and to answer your question, Ziggy, there are some things like, also there's other things like IBS, GERD. There's things that could be secondary. At the end of the day, if you have the disabilities diagnosed and you can prove that the primary caused them, then file the claim. But just keep in mind, when you file secondaries to a primary, the primary is reviewed. It doesn't mean it's going to be reduced. It's just it will be reviewed. Um, and again, if you weren't hearing earlier, the longer you have it, the better off you are with your disability rating. But I'm a firm believer that you should file for any and all claims that you deserve and not be scared to file them. So that is my opinion. What you have there, like Blake said, the high blood pressure is probably about the only one. But again, it would take a lot to get past the 0%. And he says he's 60 years old, Blake.
He's 60. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think the age really has anything to do with it.
Age can be a factor with sleep apnea.
Right.
It can be a risk factor. Also, we don't know his height, his weight,
right,
BMI, that kind of stuff.
Right. Okay, and then Camo, I just wanted to follow up if you're still on. So that is not a presumptive area. That is, you are filing under TARA, which I explained earlier to you. You still have to prove that that toxic environment you were exposed to has caused your thyroid disease. So the base that you were on, which I saw, I think it said Alaska, that's not a presumptive base. However, if you can prove the toxic risk exposure is what has given the thyroid current chronic disability, then you could get it granted. Okay, next question. You know what? Just a sec, Chris. I just want to just jump in here, everybody. Please keep the questions going. We'll answer you guys. We're usually here for about an hour, hour and 15 minutes. If we do not have enough time, Chris, if you can pop up the email, you can always email us anytime. We'll be happy to answer your questions to the best of our ability. Be sure to join our Facebook group. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, we have over 50-something thousand members in there. Everybody's helping everybody there to get your questions answered as well there. So if you're not joined with the Facebook group, please do that. If you want to support us, be sure to donate to help support. It goes to supporting us with the equipment here to he's been dying to use that, Blake. It goes to support the channel and the equipment to do our videos and our lives. All right, next question. JC, thanks for having me. You're welcome. Thanks for coming on. I'm at 50% PTSD, but currently doing therapy weekly with VA psychologist. In her notes, she put, I have severe depression anxiety. Should I file for an increase? Well, so backstory, 3 tours in Fallujah, incoming, etc., shot down, C-130 on my way home, currently affects my life still with work and family. Okay, so my first question would be, 1, how long have you been rated at 50%? Because you're rated, so you have at least gotten over that hurdle. So you would have to prove that you warrant the next higher rating, which is 70%. Now, you only get 1 primary mental health rating, which you have, which is PTSD. So that depression and that anxiety encompasses your whole symptoms. So you have a lot of symptoms going on under your PTSD. Just because she's noted depression and anxiety, that just means those symptoms have developed and have been discussed, and she's noted that. What you would need to prove is if you warrant the next higher rating for 70%. Things, and you can look at the DBQ as well for mental health. You can also look at the 70% requirement. Now, don't hold it to a T, because you don't have to have all of the symptoms in order to be rated for 70%. Now,
look at your decision letter. It will tell you what you need to get to the next higher rating.
Yes, and again, based on how long you've been rated at that 50%, you could very well warrant an increase. I've seen veterans over the years file for increases within a year of getting their rating to a couple of years of getting their rating. And at that point, file for the increase. If you've gotten worse, you know yourself best. So if you've gotten worse, then file for the increase. Provide your statement indicating why you think you've gotten worse as your layman statement. Provide your medical records from your therapist, your psychiatrist, the current medications you're taking. Go to the exam and see if you warrant the increase. So,
one of the good things I like too is you're currently getting treatment.
yes.
So there's no lapse in treatment or anything. So you're actively going, which is great, and they put that in your records.
Well, he says he's okay at 50. He just didn't know if I should or not. Look, JC, I know you're saying you're okay at 50, but don't be afraid to be rated for what you deserve. So if you've gotten worse, file for the increase. If you don't want to file for the increase, then don't worry about it. But if you do get worse, file for it. Get what you deserve, because at the end of the day, veterans should get what they deserve. Okay. Hey, Chris, is there some answers, some follow-ups with Brian Clark from his earlier?
Nope.
No? Is someone new? That was Brian T, wasn't it? Okay. Okay.
Well, there is a Brian T down here, but it's another one on hit. It just says, yeah, it's on down.
Okay. All right, next question. All right. Hi, I would like to ask another question. For example, if someone, let's say a Marine who was in infantry, gets out of service honorably and didn't see a doctor for some of his injuries. What's the question? Then does his CMP exam within 1 year after his EAS date. Will his claim be recognized as service connected since it was under the 1 year rule? Yes. Any person that gets out, you have up to 1 year to file any and all claims due to service to be granted primary to service. So that's a simple answer. The answer is yes. Hey, Chris, I think there's a question from TS we missed. If you could go back up there, my son, or did
no? That's the next one. That's the next one. Tim S. Nope.
Oh, Chris answered it. He answered it right below. He says, yeah, he says if he has any questions, can he email?
Yes, I sent him the email and just said, yeah, just get with us. And
absolutely. We'll be more than happy.
We'll
if he has any questions. Yeah, for sure. Or join the Facebook group and ask the questions. But his son is getting medically discharged. So the one thing I would like to know, and you don't have to obviously answer it here, you can put it in the email, is he getting medically separated or is he getting medically retired? Big difference. Because there's a big difference in benefits there. So that would be some of the questions. And then, you know, what is his referred conditions for his medical discharge? Because at the end of the day, he's going to get rated overall for all of his disabilities, but his referred conditions is what's going to be my most concern. I want to know for DOD purposes. But yes, absolutely. You can email us.
Not Ulysses.
Okay. Ulysses Martinez, as a 91 Bravo wheeled vehicle mechanic, work involved frequent exposure to loud. My ETS day was on July 1st, 2024. Do you think I would be able to claim tinnitus? I still haven't filed. Absolutely. Just said this. You should be filing any and all claims. I'm surprised you didn't go through a BDD claim. But yes, file tinnitus. Tinnitus is based on noise exposure. So be sure to file that, provide where you worked for your noise exposure. And no offense, I would file for hearing and tinnitus, hearing loss and tinnitus at the same time. Because if your exit physical showed that you had any hearing loss, you have a good chance of getting a hearing loss claim. And in addition, file any of your other claims that are due to service, because you have up till next July 1st, 2025 to file these claims. So I wouldn't wait till then. but I would be sure to file any claims due to service because you have the best opportunity right now as a veteran within 1 year of getting out. Kins and Will, I was in Bosnia. Is this under the PACT Act?
Nope.
Nope. I don't think so. It is not. Brian T. If and when my chronic bronchitis and asthma, okay, so we did talk about him earlier. Okay, gets approved, would I be able to file a secondary for anxiety against this? Obviously, with breathing issues causes anxiety, and I'm on medication for that too. I've got a couple things to add to this. You want to go first, Blake?
Yeah, you definitely would need it documented in the record that the reason you were given the medication for anxiety has to deal with your with your breathing issues. That would be the biggest thing I would throw into this one. Just make sure that whoever's writing your, whether it's your primary or your psychiatrist, whoever's writing those meds for you, documents the reason for the anxiety.
And so a couple things to add to this, Brian, and any of veterans listening to me right now. Anytime you file a claim, you can always file a primary and a secondary. Even if the primary is not rated, you can file them at the same time. So if you want to file a primary and you think you have a secondary that could be linked to it, you can file it at the same time. However, the primary must be granted in order for that secondary to be granted. But don't wait. You can always file them together. There's no reason to wait. Now, as far as you, Brian, you can go ahead and file for the mental health so long as, like Blake said, you have the proof that your chronic current disability is causing mental anguish. And that's typically what you would call SSD. It's somatic symptom disorder. So, yes. I think
And he would not have, and as long as he doesn't have another mental health issue.
Right. As long as you're not rated for mental health right now. I'm assuming you're not currently rated for mental health right now, Brian T., correct? So if that's the answer, then yes. Otherwise, if you're already rated for mental health, then you can't have it rated. And I did not see Greg's. Brian Clark, thanks for all the help. I'm 0% for hypertension, but on blood pressure medication. Is that normal, or should I request an increase?
It's extremely normal.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go into the CFR and see what the readings. You have to have 3 readings on 3 separate days of a certain diastolic or a certain systolic pressure, with either 1, 2, or 3 meds to get an increase.
So here it is. So for 10%, if you're listening, it's 10%. Its pressure is 100 or higher, or your systolic is 160 or higher for 10%. So if you're at 0, you haven't reached the 10% minimum requirement, which is what I just said. And keep in mind, you've at least won the battle. You're rated at 0%. It's just a non-compensable rating because you didn't meet the 10% requirement.
And you're on medication, which is keeping you in that place.
Yep. So be sure to just make sure what Blake said. What was it? I was looking it up. We said
It's
3?
It's 3 readings on 3 separate days.
Okay.
Of at least with those numbers.
Hi, Mary. Welcome back. I submitted an ITF on 8/3/2023, and I filed the claim on 2/9/2024 under the PACT Act. I received a notice from the VA that I used the wrong form. I resubmitted on the right form. What would be my effective date? I lose out on my ITF date?
Shouldn't.
You shouldn't. If you had an ITF in place and you filed your claim under that ITF, I'm not really sure what you mean.
Well, I think what she's asking, I think she had to file. She had to put the right form in, but it may have been after her ITF date.
Yeah, because there's no form for PACT Act. I'm thinking she filed claims due to PACT Act, but if you received a notice that you used the wrong form and you received the right form, you know, I guess what I would do, Mary, is I would go ahead and send a VA 21-10210, and that is a lay statement, veteran statement. It's all encompassed right now. I would send it to the rater, and I would just make note that you were notified that you inadvertently submitted your claim under the wrong form, but to consider it under the ITF dated XXX. I would also call the 800 number, and I would ask whoever you speak to please add a 0820 in your record. That is a notice that will go to the rater as well regarding your concern for your effective date. That way, if you have that in right now and the rater catches it, then you're not going to have to try and file an appeal for an earlier effective date and wait around for that in the event that you would deserve the effective date from the ITF. Hope that helps.
Real quick, Brian wants to know about the blood pressure. Can he take those readings, or does the VA have to?
VA has to. They have to be in his official record.
And I see Greg. I see it now, Chris. So Greg, just so you know, the veteran that asked about filing for his tinnitus, he says get a diagnosis of tinnitus within a year of release from active duty. The VA cannot legally deny it. Only issue is effective date if they have to grant presumptive versus direct. Ulysses. Thank you, Greg. Very, very helpful. I truly appreciate that. You haven't been on in a while, so welcome back. I appreciate you here. We don't have Jackie tonight, unfortunately, so I appreciate your help as always. So, Ulysses, if you're hearing, there you go. I didn't know that. That's great. I knew within a 1 year you could file any and all claims due to service, but there you go. On tinnitus. Good to know. All right, Neil. Filed for insomnia recently, diagnosed in service. Current diagnosis, C&P examiner diagnosed also, but also diagnosed MDD and panic disorder. 70% box checked. Waiting on the letter. Waiting on what letter? How likely under the new M21-1 will insomnia actually be service connected with 2 other mental health conditions tacked on since they were never diagnosed in service?
Well, obviously they are service connected because you're rated for them.
I don't think he is. I think he's referring to the box checked for the 70 for the exam. If he's still here, he says he filed for insomnia recently, Blake. I think he's looking at the exam that he thinks the 70% is checked. He's waiting on the letter.
Okay. I was going to say, because it looks like the C&P examiner diagnosed him with MD.
Right.
Disorder.
So, Neil, insomnia is a mental health rating. So if you were diagnosed with insomnia and you currently have insomnia and they've added other symptoms of mental health, you can only get one mental health rating other than an eating disorder currently. So if you have it in service and you have a current diagnosis, then you should be rated for it. So if the C&P examiner checked the box for 70, I would also look at the rationale, the remarks, just to see what the examiner noted regarding it. But it does, he says decision. Okay, so you did get a decision letter. So you are rated?
No, I think what he's saying is he's waiting on the decision letter.
Got it.
He's just saying, I think with all that, as he checked the 70% box, is it possible?
It's possible. It's promising. It sounds like you got to, again, this is pure speculation because we haven't seen anything. It sounds like you got a favorable exam. So wait for the decision. Once you get the decision, Neil, let us know. And we can try and help you out. But it sounds promising. But I just wanted you to know that insomnia is rated under the mental health. And yes, I have seen a lot of that going around about insomnia. But if you're rated for mental health, there's a lot of veterans that are getting confused thinking they can get insomnia as well on top of a mental health. Okay. Greg says she still owes me cookies. So she's hiding out and overseas. All right, Lolo. All right, she's back. I'm 100% P&D. I'm 100% PTSD. I lost my daughter in 1974 due to Agent Orange. Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. And I filed for her death. VA asked me for her death certificate, and I did send it to them. And there was an open claim, but why it all disappeared?
When did she file?
I don't understand. I guess my question is, what are you asking for regarding the death of your daughter? That's what I'm trying to understand. The 100% PNT is obviously warranted for the mental health.
If Lolo's still on, we'll come back to it.
Okay.
Hopefully the person will jump in and kind of get some clarification here.
Okay.
But until then, we'll move on to the next one.
Okay. If you see it, just pop it up. All right. What can you secondary connect with PTSD, anxiety, depression? I believe I have all of them from the Marine Corps. I'm already 100% PNT though. I don't know if I should even poke the bear. You're 100%. Nope. Leave it alone. I don't believe I went to medical while in service for anxiety, PTSD, and depression, so it's kind of difficult to service connect it now after service. There's no reason to worry about it. You're 100% PNT, Jerry. Don't worry about it. Leave it alone.
All right, if you guys check me, I think right now, if Lolo comes back on, we'll answer the question, but I don't have anything else.
Oh, okay.
Blake's usually my checker, so.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
If there's any other questions, be sure to pop them in there. In the meantime, I'll sound like a broken record for just a minute, but if you just came on and you didn't hear, we did get our COLA increase. It is 2.5%. It will be effective January 1st. So you'll see it on January 1st for December's payment. Over the last 4 years, we've had pretty good increases. So I'm grateful. I know a lot are grateful for it. Be sure to check out the saved post in our Facebook group, because I did put the new pay rates with the increase. So you can check out based on your particular situation what you would be looking at for your new increase. I did not say that earlier. I forgot to say that. So we have that chart in the group as well. Once the VA puts the new 2025 pay rates, I will put it out in the group. I do not take other website pages or whatever with the rates. I will wait till we get it from the VA. If you need any other help, be sure to email us. Chris has popped up the email. We're happy to help. Join the Facebook group. Oh, I think she's back. Lolo's back.
Yeah. Let's see here. So Lolo is saying this.
She filed in 1976.
Why did the claim disappear? I don't know.
The claim dies with the veteran.
Right. If you filed a claim back in 1976 and it was denied and you never appealed it, then the claim died. So you can look at your VA claim decisions. They are in your portal under the va.gov under all.
Do they go back that far?
I think they could. If not, Lolo call the VA and ask for that decision letter and get that answer. So I think we've got a couple more, Chris. I think we got Jay Small.
Yeah. Mary Hall asked a couple of
yeah. Let's deal with Mary first here.
Okay, let's deal with Mary. She says, I did submit a 21. What's a 21? Oh, so the 28. Wait a minute. Hold on. Leave that up there. 21-4128. You mean 4138? There's no 28. So if you submitted a 21-4138, that's a statement in support of claim. And if you submitted the 20-0995, you should have just gone into the ITF filed the claims and continued on. So do what I said, Mary. Maybe Greg can share his information, could share some guidance here. Greg, if you're still on, Mary filed, she had an ITF in place. Also, what is the VA form? They use this as part of my evidence. Hold on. VA, I've never heard of these that she's throwing up.
27-820.
Never heard that. I've heard of a VA 21-0781.
Greg's saying a 0820 is just a report of contact.
Right. So, okay, that's what she's talking about. But Greg, so she had an ITF in place, and then she went ahead and filed a statement in support of claim, and then she filed a 20-0995. She's afraid that her effective date may not go back to her ITF from 2023. So should she send anything to the rater because she feels like she might have messed this up? That's what Mary's trying to find out. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier, which is the report of contact. So if Greg, if you can answer, I told her to at least contact, because it sounds like it might have gotten jumbled up. Instead of her filing under the intent to file that she had in place, she filed on the 20-0995. So I think at the very least, Mary, you should, yeah. So there it is, Greg, if you can see it. She says she submitted an ITF in 2023, but then she filed the claims in 2024. He says if the VA associated an invalid claim with an ITF, it should not be consumed. Maybe considered, not be consumed. I think at the very least, Mary, you should be contacting the VA just to make sure how to rectify this, because if memory serves me correct, hold on. Yeah, see the 200995, that's if you're disagreeing with a decision. So, and that's a supplemental claim, which you can file supplementals under the ITF.
The elephant in the room is the dates. If she had to file the second form after her year of ITF was up.
But it wasn't. You notice the date? Chris, pop it back up.
I did.
Okay.
But she filed it in February,
but
her ITF, I think, was up.
No, her ITF was filed in February. Can you bring that one back up, Chris?
Her ITF was filed in August of 23.
Right.
She filed the claim in February of 24.
Right.
But we don't have a date on when she received notice from the VA that she used the wrong form. If they didn't notify her until after August 3rd and she filed the right form, she's still after her year from the ITF. So it all depends on when she filed the right form.
I think somehow it's a messed up. I would send a statement. I would send a statement to the rater. That's what I would do. Blake is correct. There you go. Say it again, Blake.
It all depends on when she filed the form, because if the right form was filed after 8/3/24, then she's out of her ITF date.
She's not. She said they notified her in March. Honestly, okay. I think she just jumbled this up. She didn't go in under the ITF, and somehow this has gotten messed up. So, like I said, I would submit a statement to the rater just to say, look, I think I might have made a mistake, but here's my information, here's my timeline, and let it go at that, and see if nothing happens, and if it's granted in the ITF is your effective date, then great. If not, then you're going to have to appeal the effective date. Lola was asking where to donate, and Chris told you, Lola, there's a symbol at the bottom of the chat, like a dollar symbol, if you want to donate.
I'm sorry, it's been so long since we're an admin, we don't see it. So I believe there's a money symbol like near the chat function.
Yeah,
that will donate there.
Because I know when we used to be on that other platform, we could see it.
Correct. But now that we're
Yeah,
adding,
we can't see it on this one.
we can't see it on this one. So I thought there was a money symbol down there if you're just coming in and chatting.
There's somewhere in the chat format that there's like a symbol if you want to donate. It's like a dollar sign, and then you can donate whatever you want to. So I guess at the end of the day, Mary, do what I said and keep me updated. I know we've talked on and off, so try and help you. Okay, got another question? Jay Smog. My dad was shot in the head in Vietnam. He was a special guerrilla unit. He was disabled ever since. Is he entitled to VA benefits?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. My dad also was presumptive exposure. He has type 2 diabetes, hypertension. Is he entitled? Yes.
Agent Orange.
Yes. He needs to, you need to, if you need help, I would recommend going to a VSO, DAV, getting someone to help him file for it. If you have power of attorney, you can help as well. But absolutely, you should go ahead and he should go ahead and file the claims due to his presumptive exposure for those. Also, if he was shot in the head and he survived, God willing, that's wonderful. First of all, and second of all, he could have things like TBI. He could have headaches. He could have dizziness. I mean, he could have all kinds of issues due to that. So yes, he should definitely look into claims to file. Greg is answering Mary. Can you pop that up, Chris? And then Mary says we missed one of her questions. He said, my dad just, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Stop. So you guys got to put all these questions together. Jay Smog, my dad just barely passed away last month. Well, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that. That's tough. Unfortunately, if you didn't file a claim and there wasn't an active claim, you can't take over substitute of claim, and wasn't service connected. So unfortunately there's nothing that you can file because you're not the veteran. He had to have at least started the claim or had to have died of something service connected in order to file for DIC benefits, or if the claim was pending, to take over the claim, which is a substitute claim. I'm so sorry for your loss. Sorry, Chris. We got sidetracked on that.
Okay.
I think Greg was saying something. So this is to Mary. If your valid claim was received, Mary, by 8/24 expiration, the ITF can be used, but they may goof and not use it. So keep your eye on it. That's what I was saying. They may wind up messing up the effective date. However, I would still send the statement just to the rater, just to put it in their face and say, look, I may have screwed this up. However, I had an ITF in place as of this date.
All right, I'm going back through Mary's
Okay.
messages. I'm not sure.
I did reach the top level of sarcoidosis. Okay, no, that's not a question. Also, what is the VA form? Okay, we already answered that. The 820.
Right. So we've answered all the questions. Mary, if you have another question or we missed it, just copy and paste it back in there for us.
Yeah. Okay. Looks like Jerry's back. Hi. I know that there's a 1-year rule after EAS date to file any and all claims, but how about if you were in the Marine Corps infantry and something on you is causing you pain, like, for example, elbows, feet, etc., after the 1-year mark? It's obvious that infantry caused these pains. Will the VA still recognize these claims as service connections?
They will, but you have to prove it.
Infantry caused me all these pains that I didn't get to file within the 1-year mark. Just curious if they will still recognize these as service connections. Well, first of all, the pain has to be attributed to something. So you must have a disability. Like, say, let's take your knees, like you just said, your elbows. I think he said my elbows, my feet. If you have elbow and feet disabilities currently, and you have pain and you're suffering from them, and you had injuries in service, and you can connect the dots, because you need to connect the dots. You need to have an in-service injury, something noted in service, and have at least a current chronic disability linked to service.
And you need a diagnosis. You need a diagnosis other than pain.
Right, but he said, pop that last statement up, Chris, from Jerry. Not that I'm going to file again since I'm already 100% PNT, but just curious. We've already talked about this. If the VA will even recognize, what are you worried about, Jerry? You're 100% PNT. Leave it alone. There's nothing to worry about. There's no reason to file for him.
Your knees and elbows are not going to.
Huh?
Knees and elbows are not going to kill him.
Just like the other question. Leave it alone. You're good. You're 100% PNT, brother.
You can get it all treated through the VA.
Thanks for the $2 donation. Appreciate it. Okay. Anything else?
That's it, I think.
I'm not sure if we haven't answered the. J-Smog's still asking about his dad.
Okay. My dad was exposed. We understand that. I understand that. But he's passed. The problem is your dad, I'm assuming, wasn't service connected when he passed. 2, he didn't have any active claims when he passed. So if he didn't, you can't do what's called a substitutive claim because there's no pending claim. And he wasn't service connected, and he didn't die of a service connected injury to qualify for DIC benefits. So unfortunately, I don't see anything where you as a family member could file for anything.
So there's probably, we need more information on that one, but yeah.
Well, it doesn't sound like he ever had any.
Right. And, well, if he does, that's the thing. If he had claims or he doesn't, that's that's what we need to figure out.
Right. So there's a lot we don't know, but if he didn't have any claims and he didn't die for service connected disability, there really isn't anything. Right. I see what Mary said.
Yeah, I think we got the rainbow or the bow on the package for Mary here.
Sorry, I was telling you, thank you so much for your help. Oh, I did receive 100%. Oh.
So she's fighting the effective date.
Okay, well, congratulations on that. That's just one rating. So, Mary, do you have any other ratings to go with that? Because if you do, and they're at least 60% in additional ratings, then you qualify for SMC-S. So congratulations on getting that rating. That was a hard fight. I know you've been fighting that for a long time.
Yeah, hold on. There's going to be another question about SMC-S.
Well, just so everybody who's listening, if you have 100% rating and you have additional 60% in other ratings, then you automatically qualify for SMC-S.
So you need one disability that's 100% and a combined disabilities of 60% or more to get that. Additional. Correct.
That's one of the qualifiers for SMC-S. She said they gave her housebound. Okay. Yeah. There you go. Because then the rater will infer it. So it's not something you ask for. Well, I'm very happy for you getting what you deserved, Mary. I know it's been a long fight. I know it. We've been dealing with her for a while. She's been a long time listener. So, all right.
So I think we've gotten through everything.
All right. Well, I think we had a good turnout. Again, if anybody has any questions and we didn't get to them, feel free to email us, join the Facebook. Not quite sure when we're going to have another one. We probably are going to push this off till after Thanksgiving, probably sometime in December to have another Q&A. So we'll see if we can get Jackie back on. I know, like I said, she's probably asleep.
Probably. So we'll be out of pocket. We'll be out of pocket for a month, Stephanie.
Yeah.
So we'll
hey, Blake, thanks for jumping on.
And
yeah, we'll be pulling up your Slack for while y'all are.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it. And everybody have a safe night. Thanks for jumping on. Glad we could help. And thanks again, Blake, for joining.
Thanks, Blake. Have a great evening, guys.
And Greg, thank you. Bye, guys.